All right. Okay. Good-looking group. We welcome you to creating a vibrant family ministry, and we look forward to hanging out with you, get to know you a little bit, utilize our hour. I think we have an hour. Is that what we have?
Good. Then I'll keep you on task.
And so here's our team. So we have some team members in person, and there's our entire team there. And I just want to actually start with introducing our team. So I'm Director of Family Wellness, Assistant Director.
Pat Tsagalakis.
So what I'd like to do for every no. What I want to do is, what I'd like you to say is, I am glad I'm on the Family Wellness team because.
I'm glad I'm on the Family Wellness team because in the history of my life in the church, I've never worked with a more cohesive, loving group that I gel with, I connect with, and we just have a lot of fun together. And so I think it's a good model for ministry.
Great. Awesome. Then we have Father Pat Tsagalakis. Stand on up. And you are glad you're on the Family Wellness team because?
Yeah.
There's so many, really honestly, this group is really just a wholesome, vibrant group. But I think I'm grateful. I'm grateful because I think this team really wants to meet people where we are in a Christ-like way so we can engage and really create thoughtfulness to change lives. Something like that.
Great. Father Vasili Hillhouse. Come on, stand on up.
They were joking last time that even when I stood up, they still couldn't see me. I enjoy serving in this ministry because I love offering the best of what modern science can teach us about the human person and help people apply it to their spiritual life and their walk with Christ. And that gives me a lot of joy, and it's life-giving for me to share that beauty.
Presvytera Pat Tsagalakis.
Hi, and I love this ministry because it feeds my soul. Period. Done.
I don't know how I'm going to follow all of that, but as a parent of young children, this ministry gives me the opportunity to learn and grow and to be completely supported by the people on this ministry.
Yeah.
I'm cutting out. You can hear me. I'm good. We're all great. I'm really loud. And to just share that with others, it's hard to raise children in this climate, and this ministry allows us to do it in a way that betters.
Good. And Father Jim Pappas, you're happy to be on the Family Wellness Ministry because? Stand on up.
Well, okay, because I found a family to support my family. And that's pretty much what we've all stood for anyway, is that we have this amazing networks of people who love family, who love our married couples, who love our children, and love everybody that has to do with this Orthodox Christian faith.
Great. We have fun.
Yes.
We have a really good time.
So from that, we'd even say St. John Chrysostom said in a sermon long ago that if joy is not part of your experience, you have to check if you know the Lord. And so we'd like to have the lived experience of the joy of relationships, but also, as Father Vasili said, the science of relationships. I played on a softball team one year, many years ago, and my good buddy was a firefighter, so I was on the firefighter team. I was like their fill-in shortstop. And we played against a church team. And I knew the church, and I could tell it's all the church guys from the church team. And we're playing, and they had a bit of a hard time. I mean, like when it came to ground balls, they didn't bend their knees low enough, and so the ball went right through their legs. And then when they were going to catch, a fly ball, they didn't judge it right, and it dropped on the ground. And little by little, that lack of skill, this Christian team, by the way, that prayed before the game, went from praying to dropping F-bombs. And I was anonymous, so they didn't know who I was. They didn't know I was a Christian. I was just watching this phenomenon because they joined the right team with low skill. And sometimes being part of the church, we're blessed to join the right team. The Orthodox faith is an amazing team. But with low skill, what happens then? Family Wellness is here to help the team learn the skills they need to learn so they go from praying to playing and to staying together. And that the frustration that comes from low skill doesn't divide up the effort. And so just like joining the right team isn't the end of the story, joining the right team is the start of the story. Learning skills is how we really fortify what we're doing as the family of God and as your families. And so, we welcome you because we are all part of the same team. And we hope that we could sort of run through a few practices through what we do in family wellness and what you could be doing in family wellness to build the skills in the areas of life, family life. And so from there, just kind of seeing you guys, and we think about wellness and we check in on how you guys are doing. We kind of ask the question, how are you? And we think about you guys are here, which means there's something about family wellness that you're maybe interested in or catches your attention or you see that's important. It stands out. It stands out enough to be at 9 o'clock instead of a lot of other places, or driving to a Starbucks. I don't think they have any good coffee here, so you'd have to go somewhere. And so we just want to check in on how you guys are doing. And like 4 or 5, these guys know it because I tell this one story I'm going to tell to you guys that this memory came back. And it's so funny it's 4th of July because on 4th of July, my siblings all texted me, happy 4th, da-da-da. And I grew up in San Francisco. My dad was a barber downtown San Francisco. Me and my twin brother were shoe shine boys. I had the left shoe, he had the right shoe. These customers threw money at us. I mean, we just nailed it, and we were like 6 years old, 7 years old, down, working in my dad's barbershop. It was awesome to, have that little city life. But on the weekends and summers, my dad bought an acre in this town. I don't know if you heard of it, Sonoma. Okay. So he had a place to grow his olives and his grapes and his tomatoes. So on weekends, that's where we'd go. And so this story comes back. I've shared it with my siblings. They're like, no, I don't remember that at all. But it was this one summer day, and there's the Papageorges right there. And that's our 56 Buick. And you see it in the background there. And so it's Penny and Tommy and Paula and Paul. And so I'm the youngest by 8 minutes. And so there we are in our little country place. And we called it the country. To this day, we call it the country because we lived in the city. And then we went to the country. And so this memory that I have was sitting in the backseat of that car. And if you've ever been in like a car in that era, it's a whole ecosystem inside there. And somehow being the fifth born, never lucky enough to get a window seat. Let alone the windows were often all the way up, and my dad would have about 4 cigarettes on the way home. And so, what's the problem? No problem. I have no problem with that. Okay, so, but this one day I got a window seat, and this is where my sibs don't remember this. I'm on the far left behind my dad, and we're going down our little street, and my dad slowed down because we saw this cute couple that was our neighbors. They lived there full time. We were just there on weekends. This cute Greek family, the Zazunases, Chris and his wife and their little Shetland sheepdog, and they were walking, and then we slowed down. And when I tell this story to young people, then I do this, and then I say to young people, guess what my dad did? And I do this. They don't know what that is. So my dad, right? So, right? Yeah. So my dad rolled down the window. He slowed down, and he leaned over to Chris, and they're kind of going, how are you? Kala. How are you? Fine. And this moment happened, and this is what I shared with my siblings, that was like this moment in time in 1968 where I'm kind of going, that was something. And so what happened was, he's asking, fine, everybody's pleasant, this can be beautiful. And then my dad leaned a little bit more to Chris, and then quietly said exactly the same question, how are you? But he said, how are you? And I remember Mrs. Zunis leaned back over to him and said, not so good. Boom, right there, I noticed something happened. My dad modeled something that I had never realized before. In essence, there's two kinds of how are yous. Seeing that second one struck me as like a moment in time that something happened right there. And they behaved differently, they talked differently, they answered differently, they connected differently. And so when we think about the how are yous, I want us to just kind of ponder that just a little bit to say there's two kinds of how are yous, what I'd call the drive-by how are you and the lean-in how are you. Because the first one, how are you, fine, is the drive-by. And then when he slowed it down and said, how are you, that's the lean-in. So we think about that. I just want us to contrast this because this has everything to do with family wellness. This has everything to do with the functioning of the church. In a moment, we're going to look at the parable of Good Samaritan. This has everything to do with the parable of Good Samaritan. Hopefully you know those scriptures well enough to even start thinking like, oh, this has everything to do with the parable of Good Samaritan. You can start thinking because you know that story. But we see the drive-by, how are you? No connection required. No vulnerability. Fine, right? Caring is optional. No heart or inner life is engaged in the drive-by. Very often, the how are you, the drive-by has an external focus, almost like oh yeah, I'm good. I'll tell you about a thing or an activity, something on the outside, no internal exchange. Drive-by how are you. In fact, drive-by how are yous in reality isn't even a question. It's almost a greeting, and I don't know if you've ever done a drive-by, and then the person actually answers it. It's like, how annoying. Oh my gosh. What? Like, I didn't really ask that, right? Okay. So that's the drive-by. But the lean-in we see is connections cultivated, love expressed through vulnerability. That's not a bad point to kind of keep in mind. Love, we might say we love someone, but expressed through vulnerability. And also we'd say, we're talking about wellness, even in a family, like, wow, our family loves each other, but do they express anything in vulnerability? So we kind of keep some of these descriptive words in mind. And then we say it's kind of heart to heart. Our family wellness, we talk about face to face, heart to heart. My inner life connects with your inner life. I saw that between my dad and Mr. Zuzunis. Their inner lives did this thing. It was almost like this magnetic click I heard. Something just connected. Something real happened. And we could even play with this word, probably you've heard this before, but this idea of intimacy can be played with into me you see. Intimacy, into me you see. This idea of closeness can happen when the inner life is involved. So when we think about this, then as we're thinking about you being here, you thinking about your relationships, you thinking about your families, you thinking about how your life goes, we might even say, let's play with drive-by and lean-in. Is my relationships drive-by relationships or lean-in relationships? Or which ones are drive-by, which ones are lean-in? Okay, we can kind of think about that. When you go to church, what's your experience interpersonally? Is it drive-by or is it lean-in? So we're kind of thinking this way. If we're going to understand family wellness, we'll be thinking this way. So then we could even say, with drive-by and lean-in, we might consider this idea. Briefly describe the characteristics of your church experience being a drive-by. What would be a drive-by church? Let's imagine that church experience where everybody's all like, how are you, how are you, how are you? Fine, fine, fine. And it doesn't go any further. It's pleasant. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is take maybe 3 minutes. I would like you to come up with whatever answers come to mind. What are the characteristics of the drive-by church? What comes to mind if that church is like in drive-by mode? What would be true about that church? Or what would be true about your experience in that community? So we're going to break you up into, you're going to find at least 2 other people. Ready to kind of scooge your bodies around? Ready, set, go. Go ahead and answer that question in your small groups.
I'll put next.
I'm thanking God already because I have energy and I didn't have energy yesterday.
Yeah.
So go.
Good on.
Good.
So, what I was thinking about this though, what does it mean to have a drive-by experience with the Lord?
Well, that's what we normally do.
Then you get in your own.
That is such a
You're what they're trying to go and trade all.
But I would help you out.
Yeah. So no, just fine. Push up and get out your flag with cheese. And living the
More minutes. 2 more minutes. And 1 more minute. Hey, make your last point there, land the plane. There we go. Love it. You guys are eager to chat. We love that. We're going to begin to turn this direction. I can tell by your enthusiasm to chat, there's a lot of wellness in the room. We like it. And in fact, what's interesting is, as I'm just observing all this, you guys chatting in a very engaged way. I mean, literally, if there was like a wellness meter like on the wall, it would have gone up, right? Because there's something life-giving that we just witnessed, that you experienced, that you engaged in. So what kinds of things would come up? What that drive-by church experience, what would describe that? What's a characteristic? Yeah. Okay, no connection. So you go in and out, don't feel connected to anyone. Yeah. Unfriendly. Just basically like they look at you like, or not even see you. You don't feel seen, right? Yeah.
Along that line, ethnic cliques.
Okay, ethnic cliques. So, you're outside the village somehow. Yeah, you're on the outer, yeah. Who else? Yeah. What's that? Superficial. So maybe same questions, same answers, nothing deeper, right? Back row, yes.
You'll think we're performative or transactional.
Yeah, so transactional, performative. Like years ago when Family Wellness, we were just starting, our analogy was church is a museum or church is a hospital. And we'd say like museum mode on your answer, right? Let me present my best self and not dare to share anything that's really going on. What else? Anything else? Yeah.
If we see somebody new or haven't seen for a long time, and we say, how you doing? Or, we engage with them in church, we don't have to follow up to see how things are.
Okay, so there might be like a touch point, but nothing really happens with it. There's not really a relational experience. Yeah.
Nothing after the church. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so you have church time, but boom, beginning and end. It's more like a period versus a line. It doesn't continue. Yeah, over here.
To build on that, like when you have worship and making ministries, but there isn't that fellowship element, as with the cliques ethnically, the big family groups get together to celebrate and the fun stuff, but there are a lot of people that sort of...
Yeah, so you have the church experience. What happens outside of that, maybe you might witness the
party kind of thing.
Okay. It could. Oh, yeah, okay.
You're going to fast together, worship together, you also have to celebrate together.
Yeah, this doesn't feel together would be characteristic. Yep, and then, yeah, right here.
If you ask someone how they are and they start to tell you their heart, their kidney, their arthritis, their kids, and you really don't want to hear it.
Right. No, exactly. So, right. So the answer comes, and then, Stanford came out with a study saying 86% of communication is nonverbal. So let's say that person's answering, but the nonverbals are like, yeah. And they're not really engaging at all. So you kind of know when you're not being listened to.
No small group administration.
Okay, so
for people to really.
Okay, so in a drive-by church experience, then no small group, because it's within the small group people get to really open up. So there wouldn't be anything like that. Yeah. What else did I see? Anyone else? Yeah.
I think that the drive-by church could be just the first step.
that you might need a foundation of ordinary conversation, very superficial.
Good.
Before you can ask, like your dad said, if you just roll down the windows, like, how are you?
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Right. So you
Absolutely.
very good. So Prez, that's a great point, that there's a place for drive-by, and it's the foundational initial. So we'd even say studies in relationships, we would say we start relationships at a kind of a level 1. How are you? What's up? Oh, I think we've met before. That time it has a start. And as someone said, when the start and the end is the same thing, then there's a problem. But when we could build on it, then that's very appropriate. Very good. So when we take that, and so we're kind of reflecting on this too, because what's nice about this is we can, typically when we kind of talk about lean in and drive by when we've done retreats, we also, because here we're talking about family wellness, but sometimes what we'll list here is drive-by parenting. What's that look like? Drive-by marriage. What's that look like? Drive-by Lent experience. What's that look like? Drive-by relationship with Christ. What's that look like? So we really want to almost leave with you this drive-by lean in vibe, so you can kind of reflect on all areas, because we'd even say a person with a drive-by relationship with Christ is likely going to have a drive-by church experience. Like, you can't draw from a dry well. So we kind of keep this in mind, right? So as we think about that, then we have the lean in. And then we'd say, similarly, briefly describe the characteristics of lean in. So now we can do that in a large group. What comes to mind? What would be characteristic of a lean in church experience? What do you think?
Friendly.
Friendly? Yep.
Authentic.
Interesting. Great word. Authentic. So there's something about the lean in church experience where it is that, like with my dad and Mr. Zazunas, there is that leaning in, and you feel like people see you and it's authentically being asked or checked in on or whatever. What else? Yeah.
Where a priest appropriately shows some vulnerability, and where to truly be himself and set an example for the parish in vulnerability.
Very good. Good point. So even what's modeled in church leadership. So imagine a bunch of people dying to have a lean-in church with a drive-by priest. I mean, I don't want to stir the pot, but let's talk about it. So just like a family. The kids could be all lean in, and you have a drive-by dad and mom, and it's like, okay, then they're going to have to break off and have secret talks or something like that. But when it's modeled from the top, how beautiful. And you think of the passage from Matthew when Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. I'll give rest to your souls. I'm gentle and humble in heart." So even how we model our Christian faith, or even then how a priest could model that gentleness, that vulnerability. What's that feel like when it's modeled from the front or among other leaders in the church? Or we might even say your presence here could be that you're in training to model that in your parish. It may begin with you. And so like a family system, like I just alluded to, how the mom and dads behave affects how the kids are going to take their cues, how the moms and dads of priests, presbyteras of a church, but also then as we grow in our faith, we are not waiting for someone else to bring wellness or to model that. And so there's power in what you bring. What else is characteristic of the lean-in church experience? Yep.
I think a non-judgmental culture allows for vulnerability and just people to relax and can be who they are.
That's good. So, a non-judgmental culture. So we even keep in mind every parish, true for every family, has a culture. Us Greeks tend to think of the word culture. We kind of think of okay, that's part of our culture too. But we tend to think of ethnic when we think culture. Every family has an emotional culture. Some emotional cultures in families are argumentative culture. Some are I'm always right culture. Some family systems are angry culture. Some are playful culture. Some are forgiving culture. So when we think about the how we show up in the church, we're setting an emotional culture. Definitely, if there's a feeling of low judgment, you'll have higher vulnerability. High judgment, I'm not saying it, not safe, right? So we think about this family wellness in the parish, family wellness in your family wellness through you to where you live and to where you worship. And so we think about this, and I would say how we do stress, what I have down here is how do stress reactions bring out our drive-by approach. So what I'm saying is we may even be on a journey and we lean in little bit, a little more. We feel pretty good about some of those relationships. But under stress, very often we recoil back into like a drive-by mode, shutdown mode. If we have any trauma or pain in our past, then when we're triggered, then drive-by mode, protective mode, shutdown mode. Okay, so we kind of keep in mind the Lord's trying to heal all parts of us, all the nooks and crannies of where our story's been and where it's taken us. So we think about this idea, and so it, I believe, helps us understand and appreciate our role in how we bring wellness to wherever we go. And so let me just briefly, this is a cool icon, by the way, the parable of the Good Samaritan. And the whole story is here. Look at this amazing, good-looking young man starting the journey from Jerusalem to Jericho. It's kind of us, and this is, as the scriptures say, and as the fathers teach, this is the story, this is basically the Christian worldview. It's the story of us, it's the story of God. Oops. And so the human story is told here, the God story is told here. And then you see that and you know the story, he gets attacked by the thieves. And then he gets injured. Very often, the unexpected things in our life journey injures us, or injures our kids, or injures our marriage, or injures our forefathers who came over and it created issues. And the injury happens. And you know the story, he's left in the ditch. Now, interesting, we're talking about drive-by and lean in. And we'll look at the next slide, because he's on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. You know how the story goes. The clerics come by, the priests and Levites come by. And do they lean in or drive by?
Drive by.
Drive by, baby. I got some important God business to do. Interesting. And I'm sure they were doing whatever they do on a regular basis. But so much in drive-by mode, they didn't see the injured person. They didn't notice the person who was not all put together. And in fact, maybe they didn't know how to respond to such a thing that's so not put together. And again, Jesus tells the story to say then, basically, there's a contrast in the story. If he used our language, he would then say, as he's telling his disciples, are you going to be a drive-by member of the church or a lean-in? And beautifully, he picks the Samaritan who isn't even deemed as qualified to be part of the family of God. He chooses him to say, check it out, who saw the guy in the ditch. In essence, the one who has heart is the one who's going to see it. Not what club you joined, not what team you joined, but the one who had the ability to see people in need. So family wellness ministry, family wellness in your family would identify the hurting person. Family wellness in your church would identify where the needs are. And so this idea, and we could say it this way, where God works. Well, there's two sides of the road. What side of the road do we build our church on? The drive-by side or the lean-in side? Jesus is super clear on his vote. I mean, he's teaching it to say, in case there's any doubt. And I think he's saying the tendency is drive-by, the majority is drive-by, the temptation is drive-by, the keep the operation going drive-by, and here the lean-in. Imagine the identity, the culture of your church being a lean-in church, the identity of your family being a lean-in family, identity of your ministry, where you are, the people you interact with, and what ministries you decide to involve yourself in, being a lean-in ministry. There's a lot of good things in churches, but it's going to be you that decides if it can be drive-by or lean-in. So we see where God works. He works on the lean-in side of the road. He builds his church there. Keep in mind, he says, in this parable says, he does a lot of work on the person in the ditch. But he says now, and this is kind of radical, he says, I'm coming back someday, but take him to the inn. You know how the story goes. Take him to the church. And when I come back, I'll pay you back, but keep the work going. He's making it clear what the calling is. And so that's where God works. And then this is how God works, what I call the journey of love. Now, I was a kid in the 60s, so I kind of like taking the journey of love, okay? Kind of like it, okay? And so, so what's the journey of love in the scriptures? Well, we see it says But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. So what are the ingredients there? These are the ingredients of family wellness, by the way, right from the scriptures. Go there. Theologically, that's the incarnation. Separates us from every world religion. Every other world religion is we go there. Our faith is he came here. So Christ is that Samaritan who came where we are, because we're the one in the ditch. He came where we are. Theologically, beautiful incarnation. He emptied himself. Philippians chapter 2. He emptied himself to take on the nature of a servant, to go where we are. Jump in the ditch with us, pull us out. That's the incarnation. Or pull us out. If you see the Adam and Eve descent to Hades, the tug on the wrists, he jumped in to pull us out of Hades. Or if we take it from a behavioral science perspective, relational science, go there is empathy. The journey of love is like, oh, if I'm going to be anything, I've got to go where they are, right? Go meet them where they are. I'm not waiting for them to clean it up and join the team.
Wow.
See them. He sees them. And in relationship studies, the relationships that describe themselves as vibrant and healthy versus empty and disconnected often describe, I felt seen by them. Or I was there and I felt like they didn't see me. So it's powerful. Okay? And so now, Deacon Father Stephen Muse, was in Irvine like 10 years ago. Father Vasili and I were in this workshop. And I don't know if you ever heard of him, M-U-S-E. He is what's happening in Orthodoxy. He's a psychologist, convert to Orthodoxy. He was a pastor, brilliant. And we were speaking at a marriage workshop. I did a workshop there, and he was the keynote. And I just heard about him. I was like, I'm going to buy his book. And then I go to the workshops. I never look at paperwork before I go to workshops. And I go, he's the keynote. Oh, my gosh. I had like whatever you get when you're all, yeah. And, but he's talking about all this stuff. And he's talking about intimacy. He's talking about the intimate relationship, the whole I get you kind of thing. And then he said this, though, that he says, that's why you have to know the Latin word for disciple. And he says, disciples, or whatever the word was, he guess it's where we get the word pupil. And I'm all like, what, pupil? I didn't even get that. I flashed back to second grade when our second grade teacher called us pupils. I never knew in second grade why we were called pupils. I guess, I don't know. It must mean student. I don't know what it meant, but we're pupils. I had to accept it. But I flashed back to the moment when he's saying what pupil is. He goes, because the Latin word for disciple is pupil. Why is it pupil? Because the closest discipling relationship is a pupil-to-pupil relationship. The I see you. I feel seen. Not only do I feel seen and still safe. That's wellness. That's the Jesus we're talking about. That's the how he works. That's the journey of love. So imagine raising kids where they feel seen by you and not judged. But seen in a vulnerable, oops, I messed up moment and not judged, still seen as a person. They've done studies that, who's been married over 10 years, by the way? Anybody? Yeah, right on. Veterans, yes, right on. Yes, look at those, oh yeah, I see the stripes. And so what they say is, opposites attract, right? Until you go double digits. And then it goes from opposites attract to opposites attack, okay? So same thing with raising kids. When you get into double digits on raising kids and being married, what happens is you've been around the person long enough where you notice what? Their defects. You get enough years, and guess what you see? You greet their defect every morning. How you doing? Okay, whatever. And so enough time with a person, you stop seeing the person and you see their defects. What Jesus says on how he works is, even defects abound, you still see the person. That's so heartwarming. Especially when you know you're showing up in a way that's not so great. Still see the person. Imagine that, your church culture having that kind of feel to it. And having programs that say, no, we could talk about all kinds of things. Have small group ministries on what really goes on and still feel seen as a person and not judged. So I love so the scriptures say, go there, see them. And of course it says, respond with compassion. Right? Co-suffer. And he says, what we say in family wellness, face-to-face, heart-to-heart, face-to-face, pupil-to-pupil, heart-to-heart. He says, go and do likewise. And so you guys are here. We're encouraging you guys to go and do likewise.
And we want to encourage you to remember this.
Yeah.
So
Go, Pat.
Go there, see them, respond with compassion. And in our team, we have all these different things that we do. But I'm a music teacher, so I'm going to teach you a song. Are you ready? Yeah. It goes like a, go there.
Oh, there.
That's it. Sing. See them. Respond.
Respond.
With compassion.
With with compassion. Go there, see them, respond with compassion.
So when you leave this place and you're at your little parish thinking about leaving or drive by, you're gonna think.
Hey, Brad, let's do a mosh. What do you need a mosh? A big
Mosh pit?
So everybody go, you remember, I mean, it's gonna be your mantra examined on us, right?
Right? Awesome. And I would say also that when something comes up in your life or in your church or in your kid or in your marriage, this is when this makes sense. Why? Because this happened when the guy was in the ditch.
Yep.
This is not parea time. This is somebody's in the ditch, and you might not even like how they got there. You might have opinions, whatever it is. And you go, whoa, that's not my job to judge. It's my job to do this. This is my job. Go there, see them, and respond with compassion.
It's when your kids are acting out.
That's right.
It's when your spouse hurts you.
Right. Right. And
When
so,
your church people say good things and you want to just go, no. But it's really trying to find a new way of responding in a different way that can actually make something change
I think so.
because of the way we respond.
and so with that, we'd even say, and again, we talked about the incarnation being so distinctive in our faith, like no other world religion, that Christ goes there. We'd also say the whole love your enemies thing takes the work of God to love when what's happening doesn't bring out love in you. That's transformative. And family wellness is about tapping into the heart. So the ministries show that kind of space. And so as we kind of progress here, I'm going to just say we're talking about creating teams in a parish that set out to meet some some needs in the parish and having teams that do that. And how are we doing on time? Just to
Pretty good. We have 20 minutes. I think what I really wanted to share with you all is that it's really important when you're thinking about family ministry in your own churches to have a vision. And sometimes when you look at the makeup of your church, there is going to be a very different makeup, possibly at Holy Apostles, where we are a small mission church with a lot of young families, or let's say Fresno, who has a great big senior population, or they're dealing with death and dying, and you're really looking at places where people can share about their grief and loss, or if there's an explosion of divorces in your community, and you're like, how are we going to handle this and hold on to these people and respond with compassion, right? So again, in looking at family wellness, vision is very important, but it has to not be my vision or Father Costa's vision. It has to be your vision with your priest and your community to really decide what family wellness ministry is going to look like in your parish. So we have a little video that we're going to share with you. If you open our website, we're really trying to share with you all sorts of great programs and opportunities. But this is a little video we've created just to show you a little bit about what we're about. So
healthier relationships, deeper connections, stable family life. That's what we're all about. Family Wellness Ministry at Metropolis of San Francisco. Very simply said, we believe that Jesus calls us to get love right. There's two places on the whole planet we're meant to get love right. It'd be the family and the church. Come take a look at how Family Wellness Ministry can be a resource to you personally, in your family life, as well as cultivating a vibrant family ministry in your local parish. We want to get to know you. Let's connect. Welcome home to Family Wellness.
With the vision of His Eminence Metropolitan Hieronymus of San Francisco, our dedicated team is committed to providing resources, training, and support to church communities, individuals, families, clergy, and anyone who values the importance of healthy, life-giving relationships. Our Family Wellness Ministry offers a wide range of programs designed to meet your specific needs. From relationship enrichment with our 8 Dates program, engaging couples in essential conversations for a lifetime of love, with both our online as well as our in-person parish edition program. Couples can gain skills and support on this journey of marriage. Parenting workshops through our real-life Parenting from the Heart series gives parents a wide variety of insight into topics such as raising kids with emotional intelligence to growing our skills in conflict management, communication, and opening up space for authentic, Christ-centered approach to Orthodox Christian parenting.
We also offer support to clergy couples to find a safe, confidential space for clergy care, and periodically offer special retreats dedicated to our priests and presbyteras. Every year, we hold an annual retreat especially tailored for seniors where we share fun and fellowship at St. Nicholas Ranch. As Proverbs 27:7 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another." Our Family Wellness Ministry continues to support parishes in establishing men's ministry throughout the metropolis. These Ironman meetings continue to grow, changing lives through friendship and close connections.
Whether you're going through a challenging time like divorce or grieving a loss, the Divorce Care as well as our Gift of Grief programs offer compassionate support and guidance as stories are shared. Our commitment to young adult outreach is evident through our Family Wellness Ministry-led retreats, YA workshops, and our special connection with Crossroad Institute, inspiring young adults to grow in faith and relationships within the church. Joining our Family Dinner Challenge strengthens connections and creates lasting memories around the family dinner table.
Embrace the gift of wellness by appointing or becoming a Family Wellness Ministry ambassador within your parish. Together, we can build stronger, more vibrant communities through small groups where everyone feels supported and valued. Contact us today to learn about how you can get involved. Let's nurture our family ties and grow together, face to face and heart to heart.
Healthier relate.
There we go. So that may have felt like a commercial. We sort of don't want it to be a total commercial because when we watch commercials, we get passive.
Right.
And we want that to be something that gets you active. And so the idea is we shared some of what we do. Our website would be your portal to all that, so you can see what we do, how we do it, and use what we do, use it for in your parish, whatever. It's really about activating you, but give you some examples of where we've gone with some of the focus on parenting, marriages, divorce, men's, grief, and so on. And so the resources are all free. It's all there. Also, we're there to consult if we want to have any chats moving forward, because we really look forward to like just kind of sharing it because we've been in the ditch. I don't know where you've been, but if you've spent any time in the ditch, you're thankful to the Lord and caring people that they pulled you out. And so we really, how do you not give back? And that's what this is all about. This idea of the powerful impact of sharing our stories. And so when you really get the lay people involved in active ministry, everybody has a story. Somehow that story is going to help somebody else's story. And again, being connecting, finding ways to connect people together.
And one area that we really want to focus in is on lay-led ministry. Your priests are very, very, very overwhelmed with their schedules. And so we say to our priests, Father, we should do this, and we should do that. And then we forget that the we is us. And it's not asking the priest to figure out how to coordinate it. It's us saying, I'm willing to do this. I have a heart for parents. Let's start a parents group. Mm-hmm. Your priest is going to be thrilled with this idea that you come in and say, here are the materials. It's on our website. So we really want to just emphasize this is so possible with every single one of your parishes if you identify what are those things that you think would be valuable to the people around you.
And even though they're programs, we use a different word than program that starts with P, and that's people.
Yeah.
So let's say you are raising teenagers and you have 3 friends that are raising teenagers, and you get on our website and you watch our parenting class, and you and 3 other moms have your little group, and it fortifies you and it strengthens you. And then you go, wow, we really feel like it did something for us. And then you bring it to the church and say, hey parents, we're going to host this because a few of us have gone through it, and you could start some family wellness organically that way. So whether it be the priest saying, oh, check it out. Yeah, you guys do that. That'd be great. And you go great guns, or you go just small group at a time. It's really up to you, but the resources there to when you connect with something that you utilize it in your parish and also utilize it for your own family, right?
And I just also want to just point out one particular program that we have for the people thing that we have. 8 Dates. It's a book by John and Julie Gottman. It's a secular book that we thought, wow, this has a lot of really good material. So we have made a series of videos, and they're not professionally produced. That happened during COVID, where we're like, how are we going to meet people where they are? We started on Zoom. We produced these videos to be reproduced in parishes as well. So you'll see the content. It's not absolutely dynamic.
No, hold on.
So
It's more dynamic than most of what you're seeing these days, just so you know.
The content is awesome. I'm just saying that it's not super professional, but it's from the heart. So we produced it with our team, and we have found that over 900 couples, by the time we've looked at all of our online work and all the parishes that have done it in their parishes, we have 900 people, 900 couples who have gone through this program. And people have called us and said, wow, big game changer in our marriage. My husband and I, we always had an issue around money. And all of a sudden, this topic of money comes up. And we really started, we've been married 38 years, and we've really never talked about this stuff. So, I mean, there's some beautiful things that can happen.
What's cool about it is this 8 Date series is that it's 8 conversations. So the studies say if a couple has these 8 conversations, they'll have a vibrant marriage.
Over 2 months.
Over 2 months, right? And so what ends up happening is when a couple gets in on this, we all get into like maybe 5 out of the 8, but it's the conversations we don't have that end up backfiring in our marriages. So this just helps couples, all of us, get into all those conversations, and the couples take part in the class, and we have interaction during the class and breakups. But then also their homework is to go on a date. That's why it's called 8 Dates. And on their date, they discuss it and then come back to the next class and we learn the next topic. So again, kind of fun and life-giving, but it's good for all of us. So that would just be an example of something we're doing, right?
So you can do that at a parish level if you want to do it. At parish level, also join us in September, where we're going to be doing clergy couple breakout groups. So if you want to go with your wife, your clergy young beautiful clergy, we want you to come and you can have breakout groups with particular clergy members.
Okay, awesome. So we did give these out to you. I don't know if you got one, but so the idea here, because Pres Pat ordered these for us, and the idea is what? That we're
tethered together.
Yes, and so that we're connecting one another. Now I don't know if we have time to do the connecting, but the idea is this is not just for nothing. This is meant to keep you connected, like just the reminder of it. So this is kind of your lean-in reminder. Where are you connecting and who are you connecting with and who needs to be connected to you? So we want this to be a healthy, Christ-centered reminder. And so let's get going to just wrap up the final little discussion we could have. St. Isaac the Syrian says, and by the way, a lot of the church fathers, because I'm a marriage family therapist, and so sometimes my lens is like therapy and what's psychologically healthy. So sometimes I'll read the fathers and this stuff flies out like, that is so psychologically healthy. Oh my gosh, I love that. Even some of my non-Orthodox clients, most of my clients aren't Orthodox, and I'll share some of those quotes from the fathers saying, bro, check this out. This is so good because psychologically it's so good. This is one of those that I love, right? To see yourself as you really are is a miracle greater than raising the dead. Raising the dead, that's a pretty good miracle. Part of the Red Sea, right? Part of the Red Sea, not bad. To self-reflect and look at who you really are, now we're talking miracle. So this idea of self-reflection is really Orthodox, is truly Christ-like. The one who's gentle and humble in heart has a love that's humble. And so this idea of reflecting on ourselves, are we drive-by or lean in? Or reflecting on our church experience and what we're doing in the parish, that honest reflection, not same thing, different day, oh, this is how it's always been done, but to reflect. Or, hey, we're doing church, oh, we're just reaching plenty of people, but the true reflection is you're reaching no one new, or whatever the case is. Whatever that is, it takes that kind of miraculous, courageous reflection to take that look. So the challenge would be this, and again, on family wellness, and I'd say this in therapy a lot, very often, most people in their cognitive, with the way they think, they call it stinking thinking. If your thinking is off, Elder Thaddeus said our thoughts determine our lives. So if our thinking is off, our emotions will be off and our behaviors will be off. So the work of the Lord and the work in therapy is to really get the clogs out of the filter, right? And so the number one cognitive distortion is all or nothing thinking. Like if I get it, how I'm supposed to be has to be this. If it's not this, I'm nothing. right? Perfectionism, all that. We hate ourselves because of it. On a good day, I feel great. On a bad day, I feel horrible. And the devil uses it. He uses our clogs to keep us down, keep us oppressed, keep us depressed, keep us anxious. And so I like to say, many of us in our thinking, we have light switch. I'm either on or off, close to Christ or not. Ding, ding. Into, love my wife, I don't. Like, it just got ding, ding, all that kind of stuff. You bug me, now you don't. Okay, it's all very limiting, very narrow. Very often with all or nothing thinking, we become very judgmental too. So the idea is we call the electrician, he's the great physician and electrician, and we ask him to change the switch to a dial. And so this idea of dial gives us some space to grow. So when it comes to family wellness, if we have black and white thinking, you might think like, we don't have much, but then I don't know if we can get to that. We can't get to the all family wellness. We're not talking about all on, all off. We're talking about just create a dial where if you clicked that dial of family wellness, one click, I want you to think about that. And what I want to hear from you is this, is that if you were to think about wherever you are in family wellness in your parish, whatever ministries could take place, maybe there are already, maybe not. If you clicked one dial of family wellness, what comes to mind that would be that click to dial up? Or it could be dialed down. You might have ministries that need to dial down because it gets in the way of family wellness.
Mm-hmm.
There's ministries that get really good at, what's that word? The gossipy kind of ministries. It's like, maybe we need to put that one to rest. So we, again, to look at ourselves as really are, takes a miracle of raising the dead. The vision of Christ in the church, the healer, doing the ministry. So if you're to dial up family wellness, one click, what comes to mind where you think you or your parish would be ready for something? What's the something? Like, would it be parenting? Would it be marriage? Would it be mental health education? When you think about family wellness.
All of the above.
Okay, but what if you would say, if I had to pick one click, what would that be? What comes to mind? Relationships. Okay, so even like relationship education, how to have better relationships. Okay, what else? What would be a click you think you come on the dial maybe in your life, in your parish? Parenting? Yeah.
Choosing your spouse.
Okay, choosing your spouse.
So a premarital.
So premarital. Yeah. Pre. So then we start getting into how we're reaching the young people with healthy wellness kinds of things, right? Good. Bro, boom, I like what you see, that energy that starts happening when you say this and you say that, it starts going, right? This wellness community starts to speak. What else would be a click? What else would be a click? Yeah.
I think just learning how to get in touch with our own emotions.
Right. So, dude, I love that. Are you studying psychology? You should. I love it. So even getting in touch with your own emotions, even some education on, like, remember our original question of how are you? That wasn't supposed to be a trick question, right? I mean, it's like this idea of like, whoa, you mean there's an inner person in me that I could check in with? And by the way, our time in the ditch, whatever that is in life, sometimes that time in the ditch, childhood stuff, whatever happened, sometimes that informs our system to not do our emotions. And we have all the desire to be a lean-in person, but we have all our lean-in buried somewhere. And so then we just drive by to try to keep it going. But how to even get in touch with emotions could be a family wellness click. What else? Yeah.
I'd like to share something very quickly.
Yeah.
Early on in our marriage, which will be 41 years soon, we decided we would not argue about silly little things. It's something I call fold the Kleenex and laugh. And here's what I mean. I do the laundry because it's easier for me to go up and down the stairs than my wife. And she frequently leaves Kleenex in her pocket. So when I get done with the laundry, I fold it deeply, and I take the Kleenex from the dryer, and I fold it deeply, and I put it on top of her clothes. And instead of arguing about it, honey, you left the stupid Kleenex in the laundry, I never say that. I say, fold the Kleenex and laugh. And so it's just a little...
I love that. That's
Good.
great.
Fold the Kleenex and laugh.
Well, so that's beautiful because going back to the softball team, that's a skill you developed. You thought about, this is what I'm going to do when this comes up. You didn't leave it for, let me see how I feel when that comes up, because we know how we feel, right? Very good. So what do you guys think? We have a few minutes left. Any questions, comments? What are you getting? What are you wondering? What are you thinking about your own parish or
you want?
Good. Yeah.
Well, why? So, and because I don't have time to like start doing this, but when we talk about they go there, see them, respond, the compassion.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a language that disrupts in that, because oftentimes if you're hit with a deep conversation in a coffee hour, it's okay. okay. Like, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a language
Yeah.
that of response that also makes the person feel heard
Yeah.
and not you feeling like, oh my goodness, what do I say
Yep.
right now?
I got an answer for you.
Hungry children.
The therapist has the answer for you. Yeah, I love your question because that's practical. That reminds me of the Kleenex, and that is, are we even equipped? Do we anticipate? What do we do? I would say, and this will be for free or your money back. Okay, so this skill will be good for your marriage, for your kid that bugs you the most, for the coffee hour person. Okay, and it's called active listening or reflective listening. The imagery we use in family wellness is a stethoscope. Okay, stethoscope. I haven't met a doctor yet, by the way. When I'm yakking away and he has a stethoscope, he's never put it to my mouth. Okay, so all the details and all this is not where it's at. What does the doctor do? He da 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 coffee hour da 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 da, and stethoscope goes where? Boom 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 to the heart, right? So here's a little bit of a skill, which would be you listen for emotional content. The empathetic response, and this sounds formulaic. It's not meant to be formulaic, but again, like the Kleenex, we need to be prepared. Gosh, it sounds like you feel X because of Y. It sounds like you're feeling really disappointed because your kid didn't come home. When people have their heart listened to, this even dies down and they breathe and they feel heard. Now, what did I just say? I said, tune into the heart, listen for emotional content. The empathetic response is, gosh, it sounds like, instead of like, oh, in this detail and that detail, and gosh, I don't have time in coffee hour, listen for emotional content.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Here's the thing is, coffee hour. Do we have the guts to say, can we go to coffee during the week?
Right, that's your point.
We open the door, so I think it's scary to say, can we follow up with this difficult conversation? Or, whatever it is. So I think the thing is, how do we take church out of coffee hour, church out of church into a life in Christ?
It's good.
Really being interested in one another. That's the thing, building relationships. Is the drive-by because we see each other, but the lean in, face-to-face, heart-to-heart, people-to-people. And that's where it doesn't take work. Because when you get to that place, God meets us there and becomes fully alive. And it's not tiring. It's tiring if you do things from your head. You got to do it. It's my obligation. I got to talk to another person. But when you connect with someone and you invite that conversation, it becomes, for me, I think it's
Perfect. Beautiful.
It becomes that.
Beautiful.
All right, you guys, one more time. Go there, see them, respond with compassion. You remember it?
I don't.
Anything
We need to
else?
wrap up. So let's stay in touch as we can. The website's the best way to stay in touch with us. If we could be encouragement, there's, yeah. Hand right here before we dismiss.
I have that point.
Yes.
It's people have to have good nutrition and they have to rest well because so many times we take on more
Yeah.
than our money than
Yeah.
we can handle, and then we end up to be
Right. So wellness, body, mind, spirit, all the way. So let's stay in touch. We hope you're inspired to go do how God's speaking to you right now. So God bless you guys.